Former Vice President Al Gore was in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, where he went into complete meltdown mode, warning about the dangers of climate change. Watch.
The accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs, and sucking the moisture out of the land and creating the droughts and melting the ice and raising the sea level and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century. Look at the xenophobia and political authoritarian trends that have come from just a few million refugees. What about 1 billion? We would lose our capacity for self-governance on this world. We have to act.
We should have had a bingo card for all of that, throwing in xenophobia. And during that same green episode, Gore touted the Inflation Reduction Act and how it's essentially just one big climate bill.
No kidding.
In my country, we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which is primarily a climate act, $369 billion, which will actually be much larger than that.
Oh. Guy, do you think that he rehearsed that speech on his private jet, gobbling up fossil ozone on the way to the forum?
I mean, it's a superficial point, but it's one that should be made every time. We all just lived through a year plus where we did everything remotely. We did Zoom calls. They didn't have to do this in person. They choose to do it. I think it sounds kind of fun, right? Going to this swanky place and having nice parties and feeling important. Please invite me. But I'm not the one lecturing everyone about, carbon footprints and that sort of thing. Look, watching the clips from him that we just played, and then some of the sound bites yesterday that you guys talked about on the couch with John Kerry, I'm just having flashbacks and thinking the American people really dodged a few bullets in 2000, 2004, narrowly.
But Harris, I don't think that's a superficial point at all, Guy. I think that's actually a main point, which is that economic forum, the amount of private jets used up the same as 350,000 gas-powered vehicles in the same time frame, just 1 week.
Yes.
And these are the ones that are lecturing us every day and screaming in our faces, practice what you preach, hold it on Zoom.
Lead by example.
Well, I do think that it's a little disturbing that the American people have to hear the truth about the Inflation Reduction Act from him.
Yes.
Like, we told people what the truth was.
In Switzerland.
Right, in Switzerland, not even on American soil. But the legacy media, the liberal media, no one else reported the truth about what was in that. And then he brags about the fact that it's actually a lot more money than what you've been told. It's actually a ton of money that we're going to spend on climate control or climate change. Right. Maybe control is what he thinks. I don't know. But just with your point real quickly, I don't think it sounds like fun being trapped on a plane with Al Gore yelling at me about why he gets to fly and I don't.
I don't want to be on his plane.
I'm just messing with you.
No one likes the yeller. And Cheryl, okay, let's just take a minute to go back and watch how he took a moment to praise climate activist Greta Thunberg after she was recently detained at an eco-protest in Germany. Watch.
There's another divide, increasingly, between those who are old enough to be in positions of power and the young people of this world. Greta Thunberg was just arrested in Germany. I agree with her efforts to stop that coal mine in Germany.
Okay, first off, he's bright red. I gotta point that out. I'm sorry. And what is a rain bomb? I'm still trying to understand what the heck and boiling oceans. What is he talking about? And yes, I'm still stuck on the money side of this. That the Inflation Reduction Act is going to be more than $369 billion. You thought inflation was bad in 2022? Well, get ready for 2025 if you're listening to this guy. I can't listen to any of this out of Davos anymore. I'm literally done. This has been ridiculous all week.
And you work at the Fox Business Network.
I know. Yes.
Well, a few things. Al Gore commenting against coal reminds me of Hillary Clinton in 2016 saying, I'm going to shut down the coal industry. I want Joe Manchin to answer that question. I'd like any Democrat in authority in West Virginia to answer that question. Pennsylvania, perhaps. John Fetterman, let's hear from you. Because they're always attacking American industries abroad without even recognizing it. The other thing is, Al Gore seems to emit a lot of gas these days himself, not just in the carbon footprint, but when he speaks. And my problem with the World Economic Forum is I don't think it's ignorance on any of this. I think it's a lot of arrogance, and it's just people cosseted in their safe communities of sameness. I'd like to see what goes on behind the scenes a little bit, just in terms of who's sticking up for America. When President Trump went, he went there and said, I know I'm not your cup of tea. You weren't expecting me to be standing here, but I'm here to talk about American interest. I like the American representatives to at least give a shout out for our country once in a while.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that in the next administration. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.